Hello, gorgeous people. It is your girl, Kash, your sexologist bestie, and you know we're back for the Business of Pleasure podcast now. We have been kicking it off this Masturbation May, and our BK people came through and gave you some real spicy stuff, but we're going to keep that momentum going. You know that this is the place where sexy meets success and where we put the fun in funds, but we also get a little raw, a little dirty because, you know, that's what pleasure's all about. But I don't want you to get stuck there because over here, pleasure is not just defined in sex and all the things that tap into that side. It's also about things that just genuinely bring you joy, healing, peace, serenity, care. And so anytime we have these conversations, you know we got to think about who are going to be the best people for you guys to hear from. Now, I want to make sure I edify this beautiful, gorgeous woman perfectly because I need y'all to understand how layered this woman is because when she starts talking, I need you listening. Okay? So today's guest is Aysha, Coach Bellamy, put some respect on her name, okay? A retired disabled veteran who turned into a liberation coach who is out here getting people up and going, excited, rejuvenated, healed, and definitely to the pleasure point, all right? We'll talk about that a little bit more. Now, she's also an author. And she also founded the Queens Healing Together Collective, right? Now, I want to tell you, I was very surprised when I found out how much we overlap because she's a political campaigner. She's an entrepreneur. She's also the creator of Unbound, the 90-day program. Now, but what makes her journey so much more powerful is how she navigated her life, even through all of the different traumas, including medical ones, which we'll get into, okay? She navigated her life after that. She experienced some things that most women hope and pray that when they put themselves in the care of medical professionals, you won't ever want to have to worry about. I know you guys are going to want to hear about this. But what I love most about this woman is that she is breaking chains, baby. She is reclaiming her body and not only doing it for herself, but she's taking it on to help others heal too. And that's why we're here with her. So let me give it up for my girl, Coach Bellamy. Hey. Hey, gorgeous. Hey. Oh, see, you know when sisters get together, we just do things. We don't even plan it. We just be doing stuff, girl. How are you, first and foremost?
I am good.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you. First of all, this woman came near and far to be here for this conversation. I want you to know I appreciate that. Yes, thank you so much. I know that I spoke a little bit about you, but nobody can do that better than yourself. And I want to, during our first segment, which is called Pioneers of Pleasure, is the time where I like to honor and give flowers to those who are pioneering pleasure, which I would definitely say you're doing. Yeah. So first, let me give you your flowers for that. And I'm going to give you a little bit more of a things for your other flower.
A
little bit later. Okay. Yeah. But can you tell me a little bit about your journey, what got you started, and why you've decided to take on the purposes that you've taken on through your work?
I think that's the part. I didn't choose this. It chose me, right? And that's most of us when we're real on this journey. What happened was I had to learn how to do this work for me.
Okay.
And what happened from there was I ultimately inspired people, and I didn't pay attention for a long time. I wasn't paying attention that I was inspiring people. I was just being helpful, being there, being the good friend, being the good sister, being the good whatever to other people, and they were flourishing. And it wasn't until I had some severe traumas coming back from Afghanistan with multiple injuries, and no, I didn't get blown up and stuff. It's like I went over with one injury, shouldn't have been over there, and came back with a multitude of things, and my life changed. Rotated my hip out of place, and I was a super soldier, so I walked around like that. I jacked myself up more than I needed to, and so I altered my life heavily. Used to have 32 pills a day that I used to take. It was a lot. Wheelchair, canes, was supposed to have a walker. And I refused it. I refused
but not.
it. Yes. And it was like, you go through the things that they tell you to do, and in that you lose you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a matter of figuring out what you know what I'll say? I learned in dealing not just in stuff like that, but even in medical professionals that some people are taught to do work to tell you how to heal, but we have to learn how to listen to ourselves, to listen to how we need to heal, because some of that stuff is generic.
Well, and it's generic. See, this is the thing, though. For me, I was groomed. I went to, I'm born and raised from Philly, and I went to a technical school, Bach Tech, back when it was in existence. And I was a nursing assistant. So I came out of high school, nurse, and I understood the medical field. So I respected it. I was hospice nurse for my grandmother at 18. So I had an understanding of the practices in the ways that, for me, I thought was very honorable. So I'm like, okay, if the doctor tells me to do something, you listen. But like you said, there had to be a point when I connected with my body and said, well, what is my body telling me to do? Because the medicine and all of the things, I started feeling like I was dying.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I really was, right? Because some medicine isn't
Something,
necessarily
and sometimes
needed.
the cocktail of them
And
don't
that's what it
always
was.
interact well. I'm so happy you said that, because I'll tell you, it's a little disheartening sometimes that how many women I've come across in the work of coaching and things like that, of people who have issues in certain areas and don't even consider that the things that their medical provider is giving them might actually be creating the problems, because we're taught to see those things as the help or solution. So 32 freaking pills or whatever the case. First of all, you better than me, because I could barely remember to take the 2 I'm supposed to take every day.
I was in the military at the time, so I was required to take them. Like, that was a part of duty.
A part of the regimen.
If a doctor gives you a medication, you know, they say you don't have to, but you have to, because if it doesn't work, then you're responsible, and you're still equipment. So
Your equipment.
yeah,
Your equipment.
Yeah, and you're told your equipment. Yes.
Your equipment.
Yes, you are.
You know that? It's so funny you say that, because that makes me think, when just hearing that right now, I just had to sit with that for 2 seconds, because that ain't the only space in which we sometimes become that.
No,
but
for sure.
we're not always told directly that that's what we are. But for a lot of people, we end up becoming tools, especially as women, for someone else's care or survival or whatever. Or like you said, healing a bunch of people and not even realizing that you're doing it. I always tell people when they ask me about getting into this, that for me, I took my passion. I just got passionate about what I was doing. And like you said, for myself, not, you take for granted the impact what you're doing for yourself is having on others, but something as minimal to you is the world to another woman. And one of the things that I learned was, okay, I got to take my passion. I made it my purpose. But then you got to take that purpose and make it a paycheck. Okay, let me just get you out of that. Because it's hard to do this work without finding ways to generate, like coaching. You have to find a way to feed the passion.
Yeah.
So, but what you said about being equipment, I want to live there for a quick minute, right? I happen to know, from just the brief conversation we had about what you experienced, right? Being treated like equipment, being treated like a tool, then your body wasn't treated like a human. And I understand that led you to experience something that has still long-term been affecting you and your womanhood. Can you talk a little bit to your comfort about what that experience was like? And then I would love for us to just talk about because I always like to have these conversations in a way to help people understand how to bring themselves out, right? Because don't get me wrong, trauma is inevitable for everyone. A lot of people don't think they have it. Yes. A deeply distressing or disturbing event. Yes. That's it. That's what trauma means. A deeply distressing or disturbing event. And it doesn't mean that it has to be some of the most significant, but a lot of times we don't attach the impact that it has on our relationships.
That's the part that causes the trauma. And I think that's the disconnect that people have. We'll experience things, and you and I can experience the exact same thing. But how it's handled for you and how the people around you, your support group, how they support you versus what may happen with me is going to be the result on how traumatic that event was in our minds, right? And I think that's the part. And what you're talking about was something that was extremely traumatic because of how it was handled. When I was still in the military, freshly, as soon as I came back from Afghanistan, got back with the love of my life after being apart from him for 11 years and got married. And like anyone, you want to extend your family.
Exactly.
And we were ready to extend our family, but my tubes had been tied from my previous marriage. So I was going to them and ready to get the tubes untied. And you're answering questions. And this is one of the things. There wasn't a problem. So just before I say this, make it clear, I wasn't experiencing problems. I was answering the doctor's questions. And sometimes when we're doing that and we're being very upfront and honest, the doctor can then create an issue that may not necessarily be there, right? Because other follow-up questions were not asked. For example, hindsight, one of the things in her questioning is, do I have pain at sex in my pelvis when I'm having sex or intercourse at any times? Yes, But a follow-up question: am I gassy? Is there other things? What did I eat? Have I found a pattern of when that pain comes? None of those questions were asked. So
to pinpoint the source of the pain
exactly.
and not necessarily directly tying it to your anatomy.
Exactly. So because there was no pinpoint on the pain, it was just an answering of the question. That led to other questions that made it seem as if I was having symptoms of endometriosis. So I was told that we needed to go the only way at that time. What I was told was to go laparoscopic procedure to look for it. And when they got in there prior, we knew I had cysts. We weren't bothering the cysts. They were only 4.7 centimeters.
Okay.
And when this laparoscopic procedure happened, there was no endometriosis. So the surgeon chose on her own to remove the cysts. Right after, she shared with my husband that in removing the cyst, she accidentally removed part of my left ovary. Post operation, post surgery, we found out from the pathology report that the entire left ovary had been removed, as well as a full dissect on what was happening with the cyst. And at that time, I still went undiagnosed because I have polycystic ovary, but I never was diagnosed.
Right.
I still technically am undiagnosed, but
As
my
polycystic
the
ovarian cancer.
pathologist report, because it wasn't a 4-centimeter cyst, it was a bunch of
smaller cysts.
So
I understand it.
You understand
right.
what I'm saying? So, right. And it was because of that, what happened was while my tubes were tied, I lost my left ovary. And this was in the process of when I was getting out of the military. The next thing you know, my medical board was expedited and we were out, and I was a retired veteran, and it took 10 years for them to approve me for IVF. And by the time they did, my body was fully in menopause and we were not able to extend our family.
You know, first of all, let me just say trigger warning.
Yeah.
For anyone listening. No, it's because I always say this, right? I've experienced a basket full of traumas, and I always think it's great to get to the point where you can acknowledge it, but not be traumatized by it any longer. But hearing what you experienced, right, and just thinking about how many decisions happening while you were in an unconscious state, you closed your eyes one woman and you woke up learning that you are now dealing with a new reality, and that happens to a lot of us, right? I've experienced reproductive traumas as well. And I think the bigger part is that womb area and how essential it is for women. And overall, how we show up, our creation. A lot of people just attach it to children, but it's just overall, this area is a source of birth. Yes. So I can't even begin to imagine emotionally what this was like for you and your partner, and the strain that it could have even had on you guys. So a lot of couples go through things like this, and some of them don't come out. Yeah. How did you guys navigate the emotional roller coaster that came with the repeated news of things that were completely against the plan that you guys had for your life?
I am a vomiting communicator. I'm going to talk even when you don't want to listen. Mm-hmm. So what
anytime women say something like, I'm going to talk, it's always going to be a man somewhere not too far co-signing
every time. And you know what, though? This is the thing, though. I'm okay with that, because I think that I recognize that even as a coach, I'm a liberation coach. It's because I trigger. Mm-hmm. And I'm not afraid to trigger, but I come from such layered trauma. I only know how to trigger. I only know how to lean into the uncomfortable conversations and topics and things and emotions.
And you have to trigger it.
I have
because
to.
You can't process or work through an emotion until you have that feeling again. And people don't take for granted emotional memory. Yes. And how the body has a way of storing the memory of the emotion and coming back up.
Right? Like one of my favorite books, The Body Keeps Score. There's so many books out there that talks about, that's actually one of my things. I have traumatic brain injury, so I suffer from short-term memory loss. So on top of having ADHD, I actually have short-term memory loss. It's one of the reasons why I keep my nails sharp, because the body keeps score. I use my hands a lot because the body remembers.
It helps you
when
stem.
I'm talking, I'm actually not just using my brain to remember a thing. So like when you're talking about how did I process it, that wasn't the only thing I was processing. To think about that was at the end of getting out and becoming this disabled woman. Prior to, I was cat eyes and seductive riders MC on tools all the time. You know what I mean? So I was a very independent woman, and I went to becoming a dependent with my husband, who just fresh became my husband, came into this blended family, and now has to be my caregiver.
Especially after you spend time apart.
Yes.
And so that's a lot. That's a lot to be stacking on the plate. And so a few things came up when you said that I'm also a vomit communicator, right, babe? Look. So much so that he don't even hear when I'm talking anymore. He done tuned out over there. He like, she always running that damn. No. Because I am a vomit communicator but I'm aware of that. Yep. So I'll say, I got to get this thought out, right? And I started learning with ADHD myself. I got to surround myself with people who catch everything I throw up and that are good at making it like organizing it. Because for me, I have it in me. But it's great that you're open to being a vomit communicator. There's a lot of people watching who are afraid to speak in these types of circumstances, and they don't realize how much they trap in their throats. That's also why you can't gag.
I was getting ready to say, that's who I used to be, though. I used to make myself mute. That's why I'm a vomit communicator now. Again, I'm a child of trauma. I used to stay quiet. I remember not talking for months at a time because I was transferring from house to house and all of these things were happening. There was too much happening around me. I didn't have words. So now in my adulthood, this is actually what therapy has taught me. Therapy taught me how to get it out, and not because of the tricks and trade in therapy, but sometimes I had therapists who would fall asleep just because they couldn't understand my story and they would be in their own world, and I had to learn how to make them work.
We're not gonna we're gonna talk about it. I was gonna say we're not gonna talk about it, but I thought about it. We're gonna talk about it because it's interesting that you go there, and I don't want to lose coming back to you processing becoming the dependent. I want to come to that. You saying that. I've been in these. I'm always having the controversial thoughts, right? And what do you call me, babe? A contrarian, right? He's I'm a contrarian. I go against everything apparently, but I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you can't make me go along with something that just don't make sense, right? And so if you can make it make sense, then we can have a conversation and I can explore it. But if you can't rub, for lack of a better term, shit in my face and tell me it's perfume either. So you just said that about therapists and making them work. And lately I've been noticing a lot of the people that I've encountered who have said, I went to therapy and I've done the work, to me have come out sometimes even more selfish or narcissistic, because you go into therapy with this notion of understanding your experience and your boundaries and what you went through and you. I find that a lot of those people haven't figured out how to coexist around others because they understand themselves, but they don't understand what they're projecting. I want to talk to you about therapy because I know you have a healing group. And one of the things with that is I believe community healing is probably the most essential part of any healing. Going to the therapist, don't get me wrong. I encourage, if you have a great therapist, like you said, make them work though. Make them do their job, not just sit there and listen and collect a check. But I found that I've been doing therapy for years, and it wasn't until this year and last year when I was surrounded by people who would not let me fall through the deepest depression that I realized the missing piece had been community. Okay. And I kept trying to understand. I went talk therapy, this therapy, that therapy. I said, well, I understand all the problems, understand what's going on, but the people around me didn't understand me or how to so I want to ask you, when you was with those therapists who you had to make work, and after you went through the process of going through that step, how did that lead to creating this women's healing group? Because it sounds like that turn is you bringing women together who need to experience togetherness.
So here we go with another trauma, right? 2018, my cousin died in my arms, and I wanted to talk to my therapist about it because in that moment, I saw him as a battle buddy.
And I'm sorry to hear that.
I saw him as a battle, and I wasn't in the apartment. I was on the battlefield, and I was talking a battle through his transition. And I needed to talk to my therapist about that. However, my therapist was focused on my mother had came back into my life. And at that time, we were estranged. We still are, with love. With love. I love my mama. You know what I'm saying? But I had recognized that I had outgrown her. My therapist didn't understand that this was a new trauma, that my mother being around had nothing to do with what it was that I was trying to unpack. And so I stopped going to therapy, and then stopped going to therapy. I was giving, like, just kind of outside trying to do the coaching thing.
Okay.
Right? Trying to be intentional about it. And had partnered with a young lady in Philly. And I keep saying partner, but for real, she was my client.
Oh.
And I didn't know that I had it yet, right? So I said partner, but she was really my client, and she would tell me that. However, we started a support group in my house. She needed assistance. She had other people who they would come, and we would have these old powwows, and it was like, let's do this. And I started a support group in my house, or in my apartment. We were blessed with a space that allowed us to use it on Mondays for free. And for a year before the world shut down, every Monday at 6 p.m., Queens Hill and Together, we would meet at 10th and Diamond. So it wasn't that this was this thing that spawned because I was intentional. It was, you're not able to give me what it is that I need, and I'm wise enough to know that I can go and seek it somewhere else. Now, what I will say what therapy was helpful with is that I was blessed to be in different types of therapy outside of one-on-one. And I would suggest that to the viewers.
I agree with that.
If you do therapy, do the one-on-one therapy. But if you're coupled, doing couples therapy. And if you're not coupled and you're single, doing group therapy with other men and or women. So that way you can hear other minds, other setbacks, other traumas, other responses. And you'll be able to see mirrors.
Right.
You'll be able to see the mirror of the ways in which you reflect. Because when, we're in therapy, it's a us thing. And you feel like, oh, I'm seen, I'm heard. But you forget that you still are working through some things.
Yes.
And you reflect stuff. And so when you're in those group sessions, you may be a little feistier that day. Someone in that group who doesn't owe you anything will tell you, yo,
you're a little hot, you're a little spicy
today,
because we're not always noticing
right?
it. And that piece of what you just said is so important. One thing I'll tell you is, from what I'm hearing, is you're very present.
Very. Yeah.
Very present.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations about this because I think a lot of us live in our past, right? Reflecting on what was and what we want things to be, that we're not always here in what's now. And from what I'm hearing, that's not you. You were able to notice in a given moment, I didn't intentionally set out to do this, but because I'm present, I can pick up on, you know what I'm saying, what's in front of me. So, because I hear that in more than one of the things that you shared. And so I want to commend you for that, because I don't think that's a skill a lot of people have.
That's trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma. Yeah.
And I'm there. I'm one of those people that like could go through the world and back and get there in that morning. I'm like, but I'm here. Yeah. I'm here now. I'm here. Yes. But a lot of times people don't do well in being present because facing realities of the now can be a little challenging. So I agree with you. Group therapy, things like that. I did it. I did therapy with my younger brother. I did because until you see how you're interacting with these people, especially people that are important to you in life, you're not always aware of what's outside of you. So I love that. The group, that's so dope. And I want to say during the pandemic, I think a lot of people started doing that virtually. But since we've come out of it, people are kind of going back to certain things, and those things are being lost. So spinning the block real quick. So you guys got this crazy news. Yeah. You're processing the news. You're processing other things outside of that. How was the sex life during all of this?
During that time, it was horrible. So they prescribed me some Volta, and that broke my clitoris for 6 months, and I've suffered from female impotency, and it had a long-term effect. So long-term wise, the sensation to my clitoris never went back, ever. From urination to defecation, everything for me there is very wired different. So when we're talking about being present, sex completely shifted. I couldn't get there unless I'm present. So that's how I know if I'm not into. I'm such a demisexual now.
Okay.
If I am not into you,
The
you
connection,
won't
those
get me
things
there.
won't matter.
No,
Yeah.
it won't matter. You can beat on it with a drum. Nothing will happen.
I'm 1,000% on 1,000,000,000,000,000,000% on page with you with that. You
Yes.
can't turn me on if you can't turn me on. You can't turn me
and
on.
I'm already single anyway, so. But before,
But that's
prior to
interesting.
that,
Okay.
it wasn't that bad. The Cymbalta really did a number. It made me empathetic to men who deal with impotency or
Yes.
struggling erectile dysfunction.
Erectile dysfunction,
Because when it happened the day before, I was fine. And then one day I woke up and I couldn't feel that I had to pee.
Interesting.
And by the time we went to have sex and engage in sex, I realized, oh no.
Did it impact your sensation with penetration as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So, and you said long term, as in you're still encountering that lack of sensitivity. So you want, I always say that you got different types of clitorises. You got the butterfly clits, the girls who you could be like, and they're gonna come. And then you got those of us that need a little bit of Tyson. You to get up in
We
there.
need little punches, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yes.
not going to say any punches. Actually, what's interesting is I actually don't need punches, like vibration. I used to be a vibrator girl. Oh my goodness, I love my vibrators. They all had to go away. I had to go move to more suction or skin to skin.
Got you.
Very much
Got
so
you.
rubbing. Mhm.
Okay. And this actually kind of takes me where, you know, I think I might have to give us some stuff right now, because as you were talking, the coach in me is already trying to, I'm like, oh, we're going to get my girl right. Yes. So one of the things that I had a client once who, not that she lost sensitivity in the clitoral region, but she had a sexual trauma. She had a person who would molest her, but this person was sick in that he used to want to lick on her vagina. So sensation to her clitoris is still an area of discomfort for her. And so, and of course she came to me because it always happens like this. You find that person and now you realize, oh, all of these parts of me that I haven't had a chance to get back on track. And now you got this person who you wanted to be back on track for so bad because they're checking all the other boxes, which is a good problem to have, right? You got a good man. It's a good problem.
He's a good man,
but
Savannah.
The clitoris wasn't it. She wanted to find ways to access pleasure by avoiding the organ until she was more comfortable with sensation there, which was going to take her some time.
Yeah.
She had experienced that for about 7 years repeatedly of that person, family member doing this to her, and never got the therapy. So now her big age she is. I'm saying all that to say we had to get very crafty. And I'm also very present. And I believe in alignment because I didn't know any of that when I was thinking about what to gift you. And so there's a way that this particular product can get used that allows you to stimulate the G-spot externally without having to contact the clit.
Okay.
Get my girl right. You're gonna get my girl right. So I was gonna start with the soft
I almost
stuff.
had clenched pearls and I ain't
But I'm
got
gonna go the
none.
other way first. Now, one of the things I will tell you, my tip when like body mapping, because I would love for you to explore this and body map, and you can just with your partners too. But I like to pheromone myself, right? And so I got all these pheromone things. I also threw in a pheromone spray. And so what I recommend is after you get that nice sensual cleanse session, bathtub, shower, whatever session, I, come out moisturized and then I hit myself with the pheromones in my body. Once it starts to really soak in and my own pheromones start to fill the air, it's actually a little intoxicating and it puts your mind and it's sort of like you feel sensual. Okay. And so what I will say is I've noticed that it helps the sensitivity and the receptors in your body and in your skin just activate a little bit more because your sense of smell is creating this euphoric kind of calm. Right.
More,
yeah. So now everything feels a little bit more heightened. So this is why I pheromone myself, because I am one of those women who at different times need a lot or can take a lot. Not always need, but can take a lot.
Okay.
Sorry, baby, because you be having your work cut out. But reason why I say that is before doing that, then, hit it with a little lube. This is one of my favorite lubes. It's a cherry vanilla lube, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be any lube that is water based, right? And if you don't have one already, then we're gonna take care of that. But this I want you to open, right? I've already taken the plastic off to make it a little easier. This is called Make Me Over, right? The reason why I like Make Me Over, I call this one of the OGs at Bedroom Kandi, because this is probably one of the first 5 toys to ever come into the collection. Because if you remember, more than a decade ago, pleasure conversations weren't very public.
No.
So a lot of the toys that were designed for the company back when it started were designed with discretion in mind, so that people could feel like they can, So literally, this is the toy, first of all.
I'm seeing that. It looks like an extended clip, like I'm about to do my makeup.
Exactly. And that was the design intention. So
and they got a mirror. I could pussy gaze.
You could look at her. You could.
I love pussy gazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, see, now you see where we at. But if you have it in your bag and you do need a quick mirror, you got one. So I'm happy get familiar. It's got a nice band that straps straight to the hand.
Yes.
Side note, when you're, how sometimes when you're having penetrative sex and your partner still wants to, give you other sensations, they can also strap it on their hand while penetrating and be going across the nipples or coming through other parts. But there is a specific part of the body I want you to try it on.
Okay.
And I think you can try it from that seat.
Okay.
So I'm going to power it on for you so you can see how to do it. With each of the toys, you just press and hold to power on the plus and press and hold to power off the minus. 3 seconds usually does it. We do that so that it don't cut on at the wrong time, but it also don't cut off at the wrong time. So I have it on low. Let me ask you, as far as vibration, are you someone who likes high vibration intensity on your body skin?
Oh, my body actually, I like medium.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start you on low, but to dial it up, all you got to do is tap the plus, okay? And I want you to take this and not at the clitoral region, but the fupa region, right here. Apply pressure.
Oh, you dirty.
You feel that?
I do.
So now take it up a little.
Oh, wait, hold. And then you can just, it's like.
It's right there.
You literally, Oh.
Can you feel that in there?
I actually can, because it's not on the actual
clit.
That's
why I said it's going there. So I like to say with that one, right above your clitoris and the fupa region, and this is for the viewers to know, it's the area that we call the mons pubis, but it's the same area where your pubic hair grows, essentially. That area is the external location of your G-spot, right? So if you think about it, if you go in with the fingers and you push forward, you're pressing up on this part. So if you want to tag team the G-spot, right? If you're getting penetrative pleasure and then you apply pressure or massage right there with vibration, is going to take it more. You're basically pushing the G-spot down onto the penis, making that sensation in the vaginal canal. That baby going to just pass by the G-spot even more. And now you're getting sensations from the inside and the outside of the same part of the body. Now,
my
the reason
girl gonna talk more. She already a communicator.
It's very relaxing. Now, also, if you are doing oral play, if you're licking lips, if groceries.
How about if on men could I like?
I was going, baby. Yes. Like you already see it under the yeah. See, this is why I know. So that's why I was gonna say this is one of my favorites for the versatility in that point, because aside from your own, because it's on your hand, touching your nipples, touching those areas can be really good. But like you said, right up under the testes on a nice low roll circle, you put a little loop on it so it could glide like a wet, nasty tongue, and just hit them with it. It can even go forward and back, to hit the perineum. Yes. Nice wide coverage, full coverage. If it missed, you ain't, I don't know what.
It won't miss.
That's the thing. And then even, believe it or not, can I?
Yes.
Are you into collars and stuff like that?
With him, yes.
Right, at home?
Yeah, just at home.
Because if you take a collar and you loop it through and then you fasten the collar to your throat.
While you, come on. I caught it.
Don't say that nobody ain't look out for y'all. Right? But it literally soothes the throat while giving them the vibration. Or, when you're getting that that sort of
That's
motion
not-
going.
yeah, especially-
You could come from under, slide back up to the sides while you know, you feel
And
me?
then
So,
get the little-
yeah.
and then clean it and put it
And
away.
then clean it and put it back in. And the thing is, it charges on that.
And I saw that.
Yes,
That the little
so it's a
charger
little-
piece is like right on there. So as soon as
So
it
you
goes
sit it down,
in,
and then from the back, there's like a little thing to plug in the charger it comes with. So it can sit on your dresser. Nobody would know
that's so young.
what it is, right?
That's so
And so I always tell people that because, you know, you never know where you want to go. It's also very TSA friendly. I like to travel with my fun, but you don't want them to, they won't see that and think anything of it. So make me over. I would love for you to explore mapping a little bit with that and see if it can help with that, because there are 8,000 nerves in the clitoris, yes. But what people don't realize is that there are 15,000 nerves internally that the clitoral network is connected to. And when you are at that G-spot area, reason why they say it's so sensitive is because the internal part of the clit, after you have the two you know, I always tell people, I'm going to use the words that y'all might recognize, but they're like stems. They look like little stems.
I call it
the
the
lips.
wishbone.
They're like a wishbone. It looks like a wishbone.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going to see those come into your lips, and then the bulbs around the vaginal wall. But that center point of the wishbone internally is connected to a lot of nerves inside. So even if you have a decreased sensation in the area, if we can still hit that network from a workaround, you can still.
And that's what I've been able to do is now if I can get again, if I'm into my partner, I can get to the things. But if I just press in, I can actually give myself the clitoral stimulation
sensation.
from inside,
And so that's wide too. That's what another thing I like, because it's so wide that you know how some toys you got to try to find the right. It's just there. I also like it for massage. So if you clean it, you use it with a massage oil, you can come on your hands, up the back, up the neck, up the shoulder, on yourself. Even if you have areas that you get regular pain, knees. I have people who use it for their feet, arthritis, all kind of stuff. So we repurpose, you know what I'm saying? I like to get a lot of use out of things. So make me over. That's yours. I cannot wait to see
me too.
what, you know, it does for you. And then the pheromones, that's yours. This is called French Kiss. It's from the Seduce Me collection. It works best on the skin direct because it'll take to your natural pH and your natural, you know, environment to kind of pull your own pheromones out. But it also is nice on the sheets, like on a pillow when you have sex. If you spray the sheets with it, you roll around in it, you know.
Yeah, and it makes the
both of y'all sheets, pheromones just gonna come together. Y'all gonna create your own fragrance.
Child, so it get real. Yeah.
Don't bring it out. If you said that word, baby, that primal word, don't. I like the girl shit. You know what I'm saying? Can you get a little growl from, you know, since you want to be. We know Tahoe back there because he threw his 6 cents in 2 seconds ago, but it's nothing like when a man growls.
I ain't a growler.
You don't got a growl, Tahoe?
That's about what I got.
Not a
Why
hit
you
dog.
sound like a hurt dog?
Not a hit dog.
Dog got hit on the.
No, but it's like, you ever had, you know, when a guy is really into it, when they lose themselves and they slip out that mistake and like, you know, it's like, oh, okay.
Except for my very first time with a growl, I actually did a trash can time machine and did that as an episode where I talked about my first growl. I wasn't ready.
Oh, it kind of threw you off.
I wasn't ready.
Kind of threw you off.
Because he went there.
Was it a good, was it a growl?
It was a growl. And he was from the back. And I was like, who's coming in?
Oh, so he over there.
I was, yeah. And I was like, oh,
it's
my
back there.
God.
You still trying to stay present.
And
you know?
I was already disconnected because bro kept his socks on. And I wasn't sure why the socks was on. So when the growl came, I was like, I think my kid's calling me.
Can we talk about the socks, guys? I mean, men in the room, there's 3 guys. The socks on during sex thing. What, you know?
Not my guy.
No, baby, I already. Yeah, I know we.
Yeah, my
Tell
guy.
me you keep your socks on.
I do keep my socks on.
Why?
Why?
It feels like, I don't know, I feel naked when I got my socks off. It just feels
It
comfortable.
don't make you.
supposed to be
So
naked?
when you behind it, it don't make you slide or nothing. Like
Nah.
y'all got the Sky Zone socks or something.
Now,
I
have
don't
you
know
ever
about.
had the Timbs? I had the Timbs.
The Timbs. First of all, I had one guy, because you're not gonna lie to that. One guy put on his sneakers and whatever, because he's like, I need some grip or whatever. On the, but now what I was hearing as it was backing him up was the scuff of the sneaker against the like the.
Oh no!
I was like,
No, he should have put Tim's on. Them Tim's gonna grip. They grip that flow.
The Tim's grip. You like
So
the
even-
Tim?
oh,
It's a little thug.
Oh, it do something to
A
me. I
little
don't know why.
something. Okay, you like a little squeak. A little squeak. All of us like when we know that they got it in them. We all like, when we know, we want to know that if it push, and it's
Push
not
come
even
shove.
necessarily all the other activities that come with
No.
it. It's more so the persona of you not being a back down
Yes,
kind of.
no.
All right, we're on the same page there. Okay, all right, I'm not bugging. Okay, and then so I know I got to get you a lube. I want you to try this and tell me if you like it. It is
Okay.
vegan.
Okay.
Right, we keep all of our lubes very, very natural. All of our products.
I eat it?
You can. It's edible. So this is good for like.
Ah.
You just hit. Now, I personally, I've said this before. I've given this tip before. I personally hit a little in my mouth first. Get the mouth because I don't have time to do all of that extra first 3
Your mouth
drives.
doesn't get
Automatically
my oral
watery.
Fixation hits.
Gets you. Yeah, but you know what it is. I like the sounds and the
Same.
So
Yes.
it gets it nice and
Yeah,
So when I first go down on it, it's automatically up.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just is it just sitting in the back of your throat? Yeah. So I like to do that, and it tastes good. So it turns him into a cherry vanilla chocolate bar anyway.
I guess
But there's other flavors we have, but I'm curious on how you feel about this one. This is my demo one. So I'm gonna put a little tip on your finger.
That's what she said.
Yeah, a little bit on the tip. I'm taking the whole thing. How do you feel about
that's
it?
Good.
It's not
It's not crazy.
crazy, sweet, or
It's
potent.
not
We don't add any
crazy.
sugars. We don't add any sugars.
I can tell, and it's it feels good. That's good.
It's nice, right? I find that if you're the kind of person who there are some people whose sense of taste is very sensitive and don't. I've met women who like a man's natural taste is not really the thing they love, and I'm like I don't feel that way, but. I don't mind if you done picked up a few boxes and put them down.
Questions on what the natural taste was that they had because I feel like
it was probably a dirty.
That's all.
Because
that
there's
was.
no way
There's
you
no
tasted
way.
good
Yeah,
skin
it's
penis
just
and you just
skin.
had that
It just-
good clean skin
clean
penis
skin. I'm just-
in your mouth pulsating, and you were not.
Or maybe he had funky spunk.
That's possible. Maybe or maybe he wasn't good up under the balls area. Because I
Like,
like
they
to lick
missed
the
that.
balls,
Yeah,
but
you
if you
had-
miss the
yeah.
balls,
And
that's
if
like a
they
throw
miss
off.
it,
Can you
yeah.
imagine your face under there? They can't even see you. Just catch.
I would be. I don't want to because
I like
would be
a
rude.
little bit of I like a little bit of he picked things up and put them down smell on it too. Like I don't need it to be completely fresh. It could
I like. I'm
You know what I'm
myself.
talking
it's
about?
the after gym.
Yes.
Like, but you had a shower before gym.
Before gym, so it's not that dirty. It's-
You just a little sweaty.
just a little bit. You was working.
salty.
You was
'Cause I like
work-
salt.
I
but
like
for
a
my
little bit of
sweet,
work.
you know,
Yeah.
just a little bit. I'm with you. I'm with
we
you.
here. We here. See, I knew I wasn't alone.
No.
Sometimes
You
I'll
are
be
not
feeling,
alone.
I'll be wondering if like, girl, are you really this sick? But
no.
okay.
It's
Yeah, I
just
like that.
Our wham is a little high. That's
And then
all.
sometimes, when I use the edible stuff on it, whatever, it just adds another element. I like, pick
It
which
does
flavor
make
I
your
want it
throat
to be.
Kind of like my mouth is like getting
A little,
juicy.
and it stays juicy for. I be trying to put the girls on because there are those of us, as you can tell, who about this. But for my girls who are trying to get about it, there are tips and things that you can incorporate to help offset that. Now, another thing that I got, because I'm gonna be honest, people, when I see liberation, you're a liberation coach, a lot of people get misconceptions about being liberated and the crossover between that and sometimes incorporating bondage, right? And the freedoms that can also come with it. Are you someone who enjoys restraints,
I do.
things like that? Okay.
I do. I am a rigger. I am a rope bunny. I'm such a switch.
Yes.
I love it.
Okay, perfect. I'm telling y'all, I was thinking about my girl. So I have this BK stocking in my house. I always keep these things around. Ain't it cute, y'all? Y'all like that?
It's so cute.
We usually stock them around like Valentine's Day or the holidays, like because they're good gift stocking thingies. So, but also like when the holiday season comes, you can feel free to turn it into a decorative item.
It's like Mother's Day, period.
Okay. Right. So what's in here first and foremost is because I happen to have been in spaces with this young lady where I know we both into certain things. So I did get our dungeon nippies.
Yeah, you already know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice, sexy little. It's simple but sexy, and they hold really well.
Really,
They hold
okay.
really well, and they give good coverage.
Okay.
Because how all of us
I'm
girls,
a big, yeah,
the different areolas, right? I found that it gives good coverage for different sizes and whatnot. And most of the time, they're not staying on anyway. So I also threw in this here in the bag. I'm gonna come back to this real quick though, but I want to get to this. So one of the things that I tucked in here is called Fit to be Tied.
Oh,
Right. And let you go ahead and you can open and feel it and get a feel for it. It's a nice texture. Fit to be Tied is a 4-corner bed restraint that's adjustable to any size bed.
really?
And you can have it set up under if you want to trip, or it can be set up in like 0.2 seconds. I think the last time I put it on a bed was in Tennessee.
This is
You literally,
great. This is
it's a good quality.
yeah.
It's a good quality. And then you'll see 2 sizes, ones that are smaller and one that are larger. The ankles are the larger one. And then the wrists are the top. And then what I like about them is they're detachable. Let me show you one thing. So aside from that, these are gonna strap to you via adjusting the Velcro, but these can they'll attach to each other, and then these can also detach from that and be used for other stuff.
That's what I saw.
You could
I
clip
already
it
saw it.
different places. Same thing with the ankle parts over here as well. And then it's real soft. So reason why I like stuff like that, because I'm into a lot of kinks, but a lot of us want to be able to do the nasty stuff, but then go into the regular world and not look like we got bruising and externally. Everybody don't need to know your business. And then with the restraint, you'll see the center adjust in and out. Those clamps, you really can, you slide the center under the bed and then you just tighten it to your comfort to where you want the restraint to be. And
That's going to be
awesome. And when you're ready to snap out of the restraint, you can just unclip them from each wrist restraint and keep the restraints on. And then you can use the restraints with each other. Okay? So I wanted you to have something to get a little fun. Maybe if I'm giving a tip, because I know my friend over there, if you put her in that bad boy and then you grab that bad boy and then you give her pressure on that part that I was telling you about while other things are happening to her and the ability to resist all of that good feeling is not there, she might really, that's with her consent, of course, but that's just my 2 cents
You have my
on.
consent.
Oh.
Enthusiastically.
I heard it.
Yes, sir.
I could tell it was enthusiastic.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Ooh. Okay. We go in there and y'all know I'm nasty. So this right here is also out. Obviously, you got the kinky things, but I always look at like our Seduce Me as part body, kind of like bath and body / kinky, because you can use the pheromone spray. It's just a regular fragrance on you. And then you can obviously use it when you want to attract a little bit more. But I don't know why I felt like this was the right choice for you color wise. But one of my favorite colors in our collection is our Illicit, right? Now this is a suede black lipstick, right? And I'll show you what it looks like here. This is the tubing. All the tubes are magnetic, so that the top stay there a little better. And then when you roll it up,
Oh, that's yummy.
now just to show you, pigment wise, it's gonna rub on
And
really
it's
well.
matte. Oh, you
It's a very
are
suede.
doing
Y'all can see the color on my
thing.
hand.
Why would you do that to me?
It's
Look
a
at
very
that.
potent black. I will put it on right now. Should I put it on right now? Okay, fine. It might put me in a different mood.
Yeah, it might.
Something about this makes me
does
very
dungeon.
dominant.
Yes, it's very dungeon.
I think my more submissive colors are the reds and the lighter, the hues or the neutrals. But when I put on a black lipstick, it makes me want to spank something.
For me, if I have on a red of any sort or a black,
power.
I am in very much so madam.
Power color. Yeah, see? You know what I'm saying? But this for sure, this black is definitely not going to put
And
me
it's
in
so
a...
pretty.
Yeah, so maybe this ain't the color for when you restrained. But with those nippies, I felt like the black on the nips, black on the lips.
Come on.
Bars. Anyway.
Oh, it's one in here.
Yes. Oh, sorry, baby. Yeah. So that I felt like could give you a nice, if you came home and you was already ready with the corners there and you had the nippies on and the black lipstick, maybe, or maybe you the one getting tied down. Who knows?
He doesn't let me tie him as much. I get tied. But
Let me offer this thought. And y'all could talk about it later.
Okay.
Right? The one thing I will say is because they're Velcro restraints, the person who's in them really can remove them at any given time on their own. Unlike metal or any of the things that someone else has to undo for you, you can really undo it for yourself because, and this is what maybe the liberation part, right? You're only supposed to be in it by choice.
Yes.
So I want to know if I have the choice to be in it, I also want to have the choice to not.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when we make these things, we keep that in mind because we know that sometimes introducing things, there's other aspects a person might feel uncomfortable because of, can I get out? Sometimes knowing you can get out might make a person a little bit more open. So I don't know. We'll see. You update me.
I'll tell you.
But I also keep in mind that for Black men specifically, especially with a lot of things that go on when it comes down to police and stuff like that, restraint is not always easy to introduce. So I acknowledge that. Let people move at the pace they are. But I do want to talk to you separately a little bit more about the liberation part.
Yes.
And mapping your pleasure, because we talked a lot about some of the experiences, but I want to know as far as your relationship to pleasure now, your relationship to understanding not just what you like done or to your body, but even the relationships structures, because, you know, I'm finding it ain't that black and white in 2025 for a lot of people.
It's very much so not.
It's becoming at least more open. Even the most vanilla couples is a little butter pecanish.
Yes. I think a vanilla bean, you know,
right?
What I mean?
They're dipping their toes somewhere.
Something is in there, a little extra, a little sprinkle.
Exactly.
You know, and no one's really vanilla anymore.
Because I try to tell people all the time, if you're into certain simple things, like if you like getting spanked, that's impact, right? So if a girl's like, oh, I love when he smacked my ass, I'm like, well, then you might like a little paddle. You might like a little something else smacking you too. A lot of times they just haven't been introduced to what is the next level. But people are wanting to find out the next levels.
Yes.
I'm curious from you, from a state of connection between pleasure, liberation, and your own mapping of pleasure after experiencing that type of thing, after an ovary literally been taken from your body and starting menopause early. How did that affect your ability to access pleasure, and how did you liberate yourself out of it?
I had to rewire. It was legit rewiring of the brain to reconnect. And before it became pleasure, it was just regular things like urination, defecation, right? So as I regained and reconnect with my brain from that perspective, I was able to experience and understand that other things were changing too, and that the way that my body experienced pleasure had shifted. And so what I did was just kind of lean into it, and that is where kink is super helpful for me, because it allows me to not just have to focus on just the organs, and I can focus on the entire body.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm a sharps girl. I love my sharps. I love impact. I love bondage. I love the things that I love.
Talk to me now.
Yes. I love stockings. Like
all of it, the way the net feels.
I
definitely have a kink for that. I love being in fishnets, and then I like how my hands feel when passing them on it.
I love the sensation. So I give myself, I feed, I'm music, I'm sound. I give myself as much of the things as possible. And what I've found is better pleasure. Because prior, right? Because then we're talking about trauma. I was trauma. The nut is the nut. I was like a man.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my
nut to the goal.
I would masturbate maybe 5 times a day just because, you know, it does something for my energy, and I needed it, and I needed to get
a lot of people talk about getting tired. I get
more energized.
More energy when I come.
When I climax, I'm more energetic. I'm not typically going to sleep.
It'll get me going on a day.
My brain is going. Everything is functioning at a higher level once I get the climax. It's for me when I go without the sex. It was
that it takes you down.
Oh man, it was almost like I went into
depressions
a lot of the times, and it would be. We have been through some things.
Because sometimes when I say certain things, I think he be thinking it's just like my ploy to get there.
No, but see, one of the things I found out is also it's hormonal. It is completely hormonal. It's a part of being perimenopausal and heading into menopause. It is the ebbs and flows. It is the way that you have no control over the spike in hormone. So when you get it,
and it's like a monster.
And I've been telling people, especially women who aren't experiencing menopause just yet, keep the button moving. keep using it. It's a thing. If you don't use it, you'll lose it
Lose
kind of
it.
feeling. And I know there's science behind that.
It is.
but
No, there is
is.
literal science
I
behind the
knew
use it
it.
or lose it term. People don't realize that libido loss, like, is usually fed by a lack of sensation or any type of
Yes.
pleasure. A lot of women, especially if they don't have a committed partner or partners or anyone, they get their bodies too adapted to one type of sensation.
Yep.
So they got that one go-to bullet
Yeah.
or that one go-to toy or rabbit that they use. So their body is constantly experiencing the exact same sensation. And often they're going to the same setting,
Yep.
the one that always gets it
It's
done.
the nut.
So
There's
now
no pleasure.
the body, like you said, the body has a way of learning
Yep.
and storing the memory. So now the body, her, is storing the information of this product. So now a lot of men even say with sex toys, right? Oh, this is why we can't get them to. It's not that the person is losing sensation. It's about the fact that the body is used to that one sensation. So now trying to get it to adapt after repeatedly, routinely giving it that rose or, those types of things. Now your libido is in your body is not as responsive, and you have to now rewire it and teach it to respond.
Yeah.
So you're right. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. But also, if you don't use it and experience it different ways,
That's the thing for
You'll
me too. 'Cause
definitely
you can go
lose
through
it.
that even with a partner. If you're not using a toy and your partner does the same exact thing over and over and over,
eventually
then
the body is
will-
accustomed to
it's
it,
accustomed
and
to
it'll
it.
respond,
But it's
not
not the
at that heightened one.
And that's what I found after this was the heightened. We actually had an experience yesterday where we both were
Was it
like,
all of us being? Were you being nasty too, Tal? Because I
Oh
mean,
my God.
I
yeah.
was being
what was it about yesterday's energy?
yesterday. It was so
Yesterday I was like a piranha.
Me too.
I was like,
I was in a heat that didn't even make sense, and it's kind of still trickling today.
Today?
But we're gonna behave because we have to do this. No, for real, it's a
It's
real
there.
thing. It's the air, it's the energy, and we both. I was like, that was a new level.
I
and
was like, did
love
we just
that.
end the retrograde? I didn't know what was going on
there's no
because I want to
retrogrades.
say I felt like it was a very feisty.
Yes, very, very. I even got bit, and I liked it. Yeah.
I want to.
Exactly.
Down, girl. I'm getting hot.
I know, me
My
too.
palms.
Me
Look,
too.
do you feel the clamminess of my fingertips? Dry them.
Same,
Dry-
man. I'm
cool
here.
it.
In the flashes when it
It's-
turns on, it's on, and right now it's on. but
It's
okay.
on.
Oh, it's on.
Because if you learn how to use it, right? So what I've been experiencing, right? Because I'm going through what we're trying to. My doctor didn't want to call it menopause yet, but believes that it is. We're still waiting for some blood works and things to come back so I can see where certain levels look like, because I requested a hormone panel and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very important. Get a
Very.
hormone panel. A lot of times they test your blood work, but they're testing for diabetes, blood sugar, all those things. They're not looking always at hormones. Ask your gynecologist for a hormone panel. So she took the blood work, and I'm waiting for that panel to come back so we can review those results. But long story short, I was describing all these things I'm going through. I was like, I don't know what's going on. This hair is growing more. That's going this. And you wouldn't believe somebody like me who's very aware of my body. I can notice the slightest shift, and I felt too many things shifting at once.
time. Yep.
And it made me curious. So I said, well, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not there yet. I didn't even think about it. But one of the things that I didn't think about was the fact that fertility wise, I'm one of those ones that she's pregnant, right? And I've conceived multiples, right? Before I've lost them, but my body is very capable, and I drop more than one egg sometimes, pretty often. So it never occurred to me that I didn't realize how quickly I might be going through my supply of eggs. A lot of people don't realize women are born with the eggs that they gonna have, and throughout life, and every time we get that period, we're going through
You'll
that
get
process.
so many follicles that basically it's the follicles, right, in your
Yeah.
body. Because like my body will develop follicles. I can develop follicles. However, none of those follicles will develop into an implanted.
It's implanted.
egg.
Yes. So these things are happening in our body all the time, and some of us don't even check for it or think about it because it's the last thing. So I didn't think, could that be an area?
Yeah.
And she said, I think that the fact that you are so fertile and that you have dropped multiple eggs is actually expedited your clock a little bit and might make you start the full process, if not already starting. But I don't get heat flashes. I get cold flashes.
Oh, I remember that.
So I'm on the other side.
No, it's going to be a flip. You're going to do both. Welcome. I'm sorry. That was really rude.
No, you know what? But I felt seen.
Yeah,
I did.
For
I
sure.
did. I felt seen.
The cold, they'll have these bouts of like extremely
cold.
feeling,
Yes.
and everyone else is hot and you're freezing. But what will happen is one day you go from that and you'll have a cold flash that ends up in a heat. Oh no, you have a heat flash that puts you into a cold flash.
After. It's insane. The temperature. So temperature play has been a big deal for me. I'm happy that I have a person whose hands are naturally temperature play.
Ooh.
Right. And it's helped. But it's crazy because I noticed, well, since I've been experiencing cold flashes, instead of like succumbing to the cold, I've been using it in my pleasure. And now him surging the heat amplifies everything for me. After I come, I'm over there like I'm in the Arctic cold. My body is like,
oh.
But when I get hit with that heat, it's almost like a restart to the engine, and my body just goes. It's like the lotus flower blossoms in the spring, and I'm ready to slobber knob again. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hello.
It's the oral fixation just hit a little bit.
it definitely
No
just
big.
hit.
It happens to the best of us.
It did just
It
now.
does. Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. I've noticed, like you said, those swings. And a lot of women going through menopause see all of these things and they process the negative of it. And I'm like, how do we make this work for us?
When the heat flashes come, I'm going to tell you how I recognize I've correlated when I am aroused versus when I'm in heat.
When you're versus in heat.
So that's
So since you're getting heat flashes, if you're in pleasure and if you were using, let's just say a lube, because I'm trying to figure out which one I want to send you. But now I'm thinking, ironically, the warming lube, right? Now I'm going to tell you why. Even though it sounds crazy because you're like, I got heat flashes. Why would you hit me with heat?
because it kind of has a cool.
It's menthol. And the heat generates from the friction of sex, but it goes on cold.
I think I might like that.
I got you. I got you. I know what you need. Okay. I love this conversation. Yes. So I want to just, first of all, let me say to you, I appreciate your openness.
Yes.
Because I feel like a lot of the topics that came up in this conversation really just blend to what a lot of women are constantly navigating, and men.
Yes.
Before we go, I did want to spin to them. And you know what? I'm going to tap on my guy in the back real quick, because as I'm talking through all of this, it makes me think about how difficult it must be for them sometimes to pick up on when those swings are happening, when those hormonal fluctuations are occurring that we have no control over, and how to best help them be and show up and be present for us, but also our own awareness so that we're also being able to show up for them still through it. Do you have any potential tips on communication or ways that you can navigate those things that you might offer a viewer? And I just quick question to the guys, in the room. Do y'all feel lost? Like, do y'all
That's a great question.
Does hearing this conversation make your brain go crazy, or does it make you feel more confident with this information that you might be able to navigate it better? Guys,
Chris, what you got?
Right now, she's folliculating. Socially ovulating.
So folliculating, guys, for context.
He's a
I
lot.
love that.
That's what he said.
It's just
Your little tealing.
That's when you know you're married. You got the coach.
I got the right one.
folliculating.
Yes.
All right.
That's what the show is going to
Ovulation
be.
will
Married to
come
a sexologist, right? Right? Because women go through 4 phases. Okay, follicular phase, or he adds folliculating to make it like ovulating.
That's a real word?
No,
Yes,
follicular.
follicular.
Yeah.
Yes.
Follicular phase is the phase prior to ovulation. Typically, you'll notice your woman might be a little bit more flirty, a little bit more playful, a little bit more, she's got a good energy. She's feeling a little bit typically. And I'll say that because if there are other stress factors and things in play, it can still impact her. But for the most part, she has a greater desire to want to feel good because her body's preparing and revving up for ovulation, which is the period where we're like wanting to attract. We're in heat. Quite literally, because our body is saying it's time to do the thing. So second phase, ovulation. But following ovulation, which is the area where most men go through a lot, is the luteal phase. The luteal, or like he says, lutealing. I call it my luteal bitch.
I think of lieutenant.
PMS.
Luteal lieutenant.
It is. It's PMS. We call it PMS. But the luteal period, what happens is the progesterone in our body drops drastically and quickly. And so it's a drastic tether from going from one hormonal excitement. And the best way I can describe it is like the body gets depressed because we didn't make a baby maybe or whatever. And it's like, aw. And it acts out. And she's preparing for the menstrual cycle, which is the final and fourth phase. So I'm folliculating, dear, you said?
Yes, you are.
Which is why I'm in heat and a little bit spicy.
A little bit.
Definitely
The
playful.
only thing is you can't ask her, yo, are you folliculating? You can't say, are you going through that depressive state thing?
He does it to me all the time. He
Yeah.
reminds me every day what phase I'm in.
No, I will say this: you have to be ready for when menopause really hits because those phases come faster.
Come faster.
So it's not four. It's still the four phases, but that's
It almost turns into 8.
No, it's still the four phases. What happens is like right now I'm at about a 15 to 20 day cycle. So my 4 phases come within a 2-week span.
2-week span instead of the
versus 4
30 or
weeks.
28 to 30 days. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, y'all so complicated.
We are. We really are. And that's the reality of it. We are complicated beings, but I think that we all are. And we forget that.
And men go through it as well.
Yeah.
Don't worry. When y'all go through
They go through the
andropause,
phase. Yeah, they go through the phases too. The only thing is you guys don't actually bleed, but the phases for you are emotional, right? And the ways in which, like, if you notice, you might work out at the beginning of the month real heavy and you feel real motivated.
Yep,
towards
but then
the
later
end of the
on,
month,
you gotta really
don't-
pull
you really
yourself
gotta
out
pull
the
it
door.
together. You're in your own phases.
those
you
are your
just don't
testosterone
understand it.
swinging.
Yes.
One period is at a high, other minute the body is like, I gave you all I got, or whatever the case is.
And it's like, that's why for men, it's really important for you guys to have some type of physical activity because that keeps the testosterone up. What I'm finding, and I don't know if there's studies to this, but what I'm finding for myself is the more I give myself pleasure and I keep the libido high, the more I help to keep those hormones
A little bit
at bay so that my waves aren't as bad.
when I don't have pleasure,
it's
I'm
bad.
I'm worse.
Yes.
I'm definitely worse. And
I think that was a cosign.
that was
from the
definitely a
back, ladies and
cosign,
gentlemen.
dear. Keep in mind I'm folliculating. Don't make me little teal on your ass.
She said she will bite you.
I do. It's kind of, and I think this is why it's important to have the right people.
Yeah.
Because one thing I will give credit to the man who wants to behind the screen is that he can tell you I'm folliculating because he knows what it looks like, or he knows what it looks like when I'm in my different phases, and he adjusts, and that matters. But I also give him the information. I like to make it easy for men. Period.
And that was
but for
one of
my
the
man.
advice.
I don't want you to have to figure out.
Yeah.
I'm going to say to you, yeah, I need a hormone shift, and we're definitely entering the whatever phase. And I've given him a note of when I'm in this phase, here's what helps.
But I think that's a sentiment to you and him, but sentiment to you, right? Because the average woman doesn't know.
No,
And
they don't.
most of us don't know anything about these phases. We were grown when we learned about these phases, right?
And some of them still are grown
and are
and
still
don't know.
grown and don't know. So when we talk about, when you ask me what's the advice I would give to the viewers, the main thing first I would say is to the women versus the men. We have to do the thing where we use that throat chakra and communicate. Even if you don't know what your need is, communicate that you don't know what you need right now. I may just need a hug. I don't have words. I can't explain what's going on to you. And I wish I could. Can you just sit with me? right? Because that can go so much further than when we shut down and we feel
Right.
like we're isolated and we're on this island by ourselves. And this relationship that we actually love and appreciate becomes a rocky space just
yeah.
because we won't communicate.
Especially if it's
once
a
month.
hetero
Yes.
relationship, right?
But no, actually,
'Cause
because
with
I
women-
I was ready to say I play on both teams.
Oh, baby,
you know what I mean? I'm
hello.
poly or I'm pan, so I like
All
men
of it,
and
but I
women,
find
all of the
that
things.
as women, with the understanding that women might have towards each other, and if you're in the phase, if you're in different phases, or sometimes when you're around certain women for a while, y'all start to align. You start to notice your cycles start to match up. You
sync
start
up,
to you
yep.
sync up sometimes, and even how we experience it can vary for us. So it's important to communicate it regardless.
Even because even in relationships with women, I've had women where, because they were a little bit more masculine presenting, I was explaining to them about their periods. We still had to have communication.
talks.
So the same talks go across the board, whether you're with a man or a woman. That's why I said I'm talking directly to women. We have to communicate.
We do.
We have done this thing where society has told us to shut up, and we continue to shut up about this. And we can't, and we shouldn't, especially when we're talking about something that happens naturally with our bodies that we can't control.
There's certain things we can't stay quiet about,
Yeah.
and knowing that there are certain things that if a person is not experiencing it, or if it's not their experience, only you can verbalize it. And it's very important. If you don't know, one thing I will say, you said, when you don't know, I've had to grow my vocabulary. I've had to grow my expansion and understanding of certain things, because I'm one of those people that doesn't like to stay in the lack of knowing. I can acknowledge if I don't know, but I don't like to stay
I'm
there.
not going to stay there.
Right. And I think the greater we grow our awareness, we're going to be able to be better communicators. We're going to be able to tell people things. And if you are with a woman, right, y'all are balancing both the swings of our own emotions. And if you're with a man, they're problem solvers. So they don't like problems without solutions. So if you can help hand over a solution, you might be able to decrease the arguments, decrease the whatever. So I love this so much. The last thing I want to ask you to do to the audience, not only tell them how to connect with you, but also Money Making Monday is what we close out on. It's a very short, couple 2-minute segment in which I ask the person I'm talking with to express how they have monetized the business of pleasure, right? And how people can connect with you if they're interested in taking part in the services that you offer in this industry.
Okay. What's so interesting is I show up in the kink world the same that I do in the vanilla world. I end up coaching, even though the name is different. I still do the same thing. I give safe space, because even though people are in the lifestyle, they believe they're liberated when they're not. A lot of people are trauma bonding and connecting through kinks in a very unhealthy manner.
Very much
they
so.
are feeding a kink that connects with their trauma
Without
and they're
ever
keeping
actually resolving the
themselves
trauma,
in a-
perpetuating
yes,
it.
And it's like they don't even know it. So what I offer people, no matter what realm they sit in, is safe space. And I do that on one-on-one basis as well as group activities. So I have on the vanilla side, Unbound, a 90-day program, but I also have the Sexual Shame and Liberation Workshop, where that is for people who have been through therapy, right? I'm talking to the people who have been to therapy, done the things, but there's still a part of
it
you
that's missing.
That's missing, and that's the shame that you're hoarding without knowing it. And I help you to peel that layer of shame back in a very, very triggering way. And what happens is there's a beautiful place of pleasure on the other side.
I like that.
So I'm still the liberation coach, even in the world of sex. I just do it in group settings,
different
or in
ways.
one-on-one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have somebody I need to connect you with.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to share with you later one of the earlier episodes we did on the podcast. Her name is Dr. Tamara.
Yes.
She goes by Dr. Tamara Rose, like a family member, sister, definitely family to the Bedroom Kandi community. I want to say for the last almost decade, she's been one of the experts, but she's an Ayurvedic practitioner. So she does a lot of things, but your energies are very aligned. And I think with some of the things that you're experiencing and some of the things you said you're still navigating, I think she would be really a great connection. So I'm going to connect y'all, and I'm going to check back in to see if that connection is what I feel like it is.
Yes.
But tell them your socials or the best, wherever it is, the best way to connect with you.
Yeah, best way to connect with me on Instagram is at mrsbellamy.callmecoach. But you can also just go to my website. Everything is on my website,
Okay.
AyshaCoachBellamy.com.
All right. right.
And they could tap in with me from there.
I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
it. We're going to make sure that you guys get that on the screen and that we put that in the description as well. Because I know there's going to be a lot of y'all who want to
Yeah,
talk
they gonna have
more with her.
questions.
Yes, they got questions. We opened up a
We
lot.
opened up a lot, but we didn't close
And we ain't
it.
closed
And
a
I
lot.
love that,
We might have to come back. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. But I want to thank you. Thank you for your openness, for trusting me.
Yes, ma'am.
And this conversation, and for being open to sharing this, because I know that one of the greatest healers is storytelling and sharing our experiences with each other. So thank you for that. And this has been a super powerful masturbation May episode of the Business of Pleasure podcast. You know, I am your girl Kash, your sexologist bestie. We're going to be back in another week with more goods. Y'all better tap in. All right. Bye.